In the winter of 1787 through 1788, while the ink on the brand-new Constitution was still drying like fresh paint on a very expensive barn, Alexander Hamilton sat down at his desk in New York and penned Federalist Number 7. The man wrote like he was late for a duel, sharp, urgent, and with the unmistakable air of someone who had already calculated the odds of catastrophe and found them annoyingly high. His target? The cheerful notion that 13 independent states could simply nod politely at one another and call it a day. The Anti-Federalists, those noble warriors in tricorn hats, were not amused. They smelled tyranny in every clause and responded with pamphlets that read like conspiracy theories penned by your most paranoid uncle after 3 bowls of punch. The result was less a polite debate than a rap battle between pragmatism and paranoia. And because we are a constitutional republic, not some Athenian mob with better wigs, the Constitution that emerged gave both sides enough of what they wanted to keep the whole experiment from collapsing into a farce. But oh, the satire writes itself. Hamilton opens Federalist Number 7 with the rhetorical equivalent of a raised eyebrow. It is sometimes asked, with an air of seeming triumph, he writes, what inducements could the states have, if disunited, to make war upon each other? His answer, precisely the same ones that have drenched every other patch of earth in blood since Cain eyed Abel's sheep. And he gets delightfully specific, because Hamilton never met a generality he couldn't turn into a spreadsheet. First, he says, there's the Western Territory, those vast, unmapped acres that every state with a pencil and a dream claimed as its own. Without a union, he predicts, New York and Pennsylvania would be at each other's throats faster than you could say manifest destiny. Picture it. Colonial militias arguing over who gets the good farmland, while the British and French chuckle from the sidelines, whispering divide et impera, like gossiping aunts at a funeral. Hamilton didn't need a crystal ball. He'd already seen the states bickering under the Articles of Confederation like roommates fighting over the last slice of pizza. Next comes commerce, Hamilton's favorite bugbear. Imagine, he warns, New Jersey slapping tariffs on New York goods simply because it can. Connecticut levying duties on Rhode Island rum. Virginia playing traffic cop on the Potomac. The result? Trade wars that make today's Twitter feuds look civilized. The importing states, he notes with dry glee, would be able to tax the exporting ones. In other words, the states would treat one another exactly like European monarchs treat their neighbors, with suspicion, invoices, and the occasional bayonet. Then there's the public debt, the Revolutionary War tab that the states owed collectively but couldn't agree how to split. Hamilton, ever the accountant with a sword, foresees endless haggling. Some states would pay more, some less, and everyone would feel cheated. Add in the risk that states might pass laws nullifying private contracts, because why honor a debt when you can just vote it away? And you have the perfect recipe for lawsuits, boycotts, and the occasional border skirmish. Without a common umpire, Hamilton concludes, the states would tumble into the pernicious labyrinths of European politics, becoming pawns for foreign powers who would happily fund one side against the other. In short, disunion equals drama, and not the fun kind. The Anti-Federalists, bless their liberty-loving hearts, were having none of it. To them, Hamilton's stronger union sounded suspiciously like a shiny new crown with president embroidered on it. Writers like Brutus and Cato fired back with essays that could double as survivalist manifestos. A consolidated government, they warned, would swallow the states whole. Taxation without representation? Been there. A standing army? Next you'll tell us the president gets a scepter. They wanted a loose confederation where each state kept its sovereignty, thank you very much, and where any federal power was watched like a fox in the henhouse. No Bill of Rights? Tyranny. Too much central authority? Monarchy in disguise. Their pamphlets practically vibrated with the fear that Philadelphia had simply traded King George for King Congress. The satire peaks when you imagine the two sides in the same tavern. Hamilton, quill in hand, "Gentlemen, Without union, we shall have New Jersey invading Pennsylvania over a ferry toll. An anti-federalist, mug raised. And with your union, we shall have a federal army marching on Boston because someone criticized the president. Give me back my state legislature or give me death. Again. Yet here's the punchline that makes the whole thing deliciously Republican. Both sides won. The Constitution created a federal system that was strong enough to stop the states from declaring war on one another over a river bend, but limited enough that no one could call it a monarchy. The states kept their sovereignty in matters not delegated to the national government. See the 10th Amendment, the Anti-Federalists' participation trophy. The people, through their elected representatives, retained the power, filtered through the Electoral College, the Senate, and all those lovely checks and balances, so that we remained a republic, not a raw democracy where the majority could vote itself your cow and your wife's good silver. Hamilton's dire predictions never fully materialized because the union he championed worked. We didn't splinter into warring fiefdoms. We got internal improvements, a common currency, and the occasional Supreme Court ruling that still makes both sides clutch their pearls. The anti-federalists' fears of overreach? They forced the Bill of Rights into existence, proving that even paranoids can be useful on a Tuesday. So the next time someone sighs that the framers were naive idealists, hand them Federalist Number 7. Hamilton wasn't predicting utopia. He was predicting human nature in all its greedy territorial glory. The anti-federalists weren't cranks. They were the designated warriors who made sure the republic came with guardrails. Together they built a constitutional machine that has, against all odds and several civil wars, kept 13, now 50, squabbling cousins under one roof, without the roof caving in. And in a republic, that's about as witty a victory as any of us could ask for. Help us restore our republic. Vote Rachel Fox for U.S. Senate this November 3rd.